Hello friends, today we are going to study a market equilibrium. Market equilibrium. So before going for studying the market equilibrium, we will study some of the basics. Uh, so basic or basic concepts. So first of all, we will need that law of supply and law of demand. So we will discuss these. So what is law of demand or law of supply? Law of demand says that when the prices of any commodities goes upward, the demand of those products goes down. So we will look at it with the help of the curve. So this is the demand curve, and here we will get price, and here the quantity. So as we can see, as the price will go up, so corresponding price, let we will see P naught, and if the prices will go up, then up to say P1, then corresponding quantity will be less. So this will be Q naught and this will be Q1. So you can see that at point 1, the quantity demanded at price P naught is equals to Q naught, and at situation 2 or point 2, the quantity demanded will be Q1, which is lesser than Q naught, at the price P1, which is higher than initial price P naught. So as per our law of demand, when the price will go up, the demand will go down. And the second scenario here will be, if the price will go down, the demand will increase. Demand of the commodities or goods or services, anything, it will be, the demand will increase. So in simple words, this is the law of demand, and now we will look at law of supply. Law of supply. Fine. So here this curve, this is demand curve. This is demand curve. Okay, and this demand curve slopes downward. So this slope is slopes demand curve. Demand curve slopes downwards. Fine. Now we will see law of supply. So what this law of supply says, when the prices in the market will go up, the suppliers will supply more quantity of the goods or services, and hence the supply will increase in the market. So we will see this supply curve will be like this: price and this is quantity. Fine. Suppose we have initial point 1, and corresponding price and quantities are Q1 and P1. If the price will increase, say this is P2. So this increase in the price will give incentives to the suppliers, and they will be motivated, and they will start producing more amount of the goods and services, and they will supply more quantity into market, and corresponding quantity will be higher in the market, and this uh, so we can sum up this situation. If the prices of the goods or services in the market will go up, the quantity supplied. So we can write directly supply in the market, or aggregate supply in the market of the goods and services will increase. And the second scenario will be if the prices will go down, the supply will go down. Fine. And we can see that the slope, this is the supply curve, this is the supply curve, and this slopes upward, slopes upwards. Fine. So these are the basic things, and now we will understand what is equilibrium. Equilibrium. The concept of equilibrium says when the in the market there are two major main components. First one is buyer who creates demand for goods and services, and second one is the supplier. And what is this supplier? Supplier supplies as per the demands uh, demands of the goods and services created by buyers. So these are the two main components, and in we are considering it is a free float market, and there is no any other controlling agency of this market, and the market is controlled by the prices of the goods. So market is controlled by prices and the demand and supply of the goods, of the goods or services, of the goods or services. Fine. So we are having these three controlling factors which control the market. So how this equilibrium will works? So we are having this supply curve, and this is demand curve. We are having quantity here, quantity, and here we are having price. So this is supply curve, and this is demand curve, demand curve. So the point at which these two curves will cross or will meet, that point is called the point of equilibrium, and the prices or quantities at which this equilibrium occurs are the equilibrium price. So this is P equilibrium, and this quantity is Q equilibrium. So this is the point where the buyer and seller in the market agrees on the quantity to be sold or to be purchased at a certain price point. So this price point, at this price point, the supply equals to the, so at price P equilibrium, the demand. So what is the demand here? First we will write it. Demand is QE, and supply at this price is also QE. So at the price P, no, P equilibrium, the demand QE equals to supply QE. So this is demand and this is supply. So now you have understood the concept of equilibrium, but this equilibrium is achieved under the control of the market forces, or so there are various factors which controls the market, and which affects the prices of the commodities in the market, or we can say there are various factors which affect this equilibrium in the market. So what are these factors? Uh, so these factors can be factors affecting the equilibrium in the market. So first factor will be the taste and preference. Taste and preference of the consumer. So let us suppose the consumer is earlier consuming the tea, and now he is shifting to the coffee, and so the taste of the consumer as the taste of the consumer change, the demand of the tea lowers. Fine, and the change in the taste to the coffee is increasing the sale of the, or sale or demand of the coffee. So taste and preference will be a major factor in affecting the equilibrium. And second factor will be the prices of the related goods. Prices of the related goods. So how these prices will affect the equilibrium? Say there are two types of related goods. There are two types of related goods. First, we can classify them as substitute goods. So under this, we will take the example of tea and coffee. Example will be tea and coffee. So how these are substitute goods? That tea can be replaced by the coffee as a choice, and if any person is drinking tea for a longer time, his preference may change, and he may shift to the coffee. And if he shifts to the coffee, the demand of, so demand shifts to coffee. If the demand shifts to the coffee, then demand of tea will lower, and the demand of coffee will increase. So as per law of demand and supply, this lowering of the demand of tea will lower its prices. So prices will lower of tea, and if the demand of coffee is increasing, it will have implications on the prices of the coffee. If price demand of the coffee is increasing, so it is obvious that the prices of the coffee will also increase. Fine. So the second type of related goods are the complementary goods. Complementary goods. So here we will take the example of bread and butter, or we can car and petrol. So here the complementary goods means if someone is using car, then he will definitely buy petrol, and if someone is buying or consuming bread, then he might be consuming butter. Okay. So we will consider how this is affecting our the equilibrium. So if the prices of the petrol, of if the prices of petrol will increase, then this will be having impact on the pocket of the consumer, and he may shift his demand from the petrol car to diesel car or electric vehicle. So the demand for petrol car will get down. Demand for the petrol car will lower down. So we can see prices of the petrol are having implications on the demand of the petrol car. Instead of this, the consumers will be maybe shifting to the electric vehicles, or they may not be using cars, because it is having implications on the pocket of the consumer. So next factor we will study is the income of the consumer. Income of the consumer. So how income of the consumer affects, say some person is having monthly income of income is equals to 10,000 rupees. So he has to uh, spend this on very limited basket of goods and services, like rent, his foodings, clothings, education, convenience charges, telephonic charges, etc. So he might be opting for the services for movement from one place to another through public transport. So he may be opting for public transport. Public transport. So this will be the cheaper option, or he can use the bicycle. Bicycle. So if we suppose the income will change, the second scenario, first and second scenario, if his income increases, he becomes from clerk to officer, his income increases to 25,000 rupees per month. So now he can spend more on his lifestyle, on his convenience. So he may opt for now motorcycle, or he may use car, because he is having a leisure of increase pocket money. So he can his demand can shift from one type of goods or services to another higher kind of goods and services. Earlier he might be buying the Parle-G biscuit, which cost rupees 5, and now he may shift to Parle-G's another brand, Bourbon, which cost him 30 rupees. So 5 rupees biscuit to 30 rupees biscuit. So demand of Parle-G will go down. Parle-G, its demand will go down, and by increasing the income, and the demand of the superior good of the Bourbon biscuit will increase. So this is affecting the equilibrium in this manner. So another few factors. Number 4. Now another factor which affects the market is number of buyers and sellers. Number of buyers and sellers in the market. So how the number of buyers affects? Suppose if there are more number of buyers, then the demand will increase. If number of buyers increase, then the demand of particular commodity will increase. Eh, uh, Notice here, when I'm referring demand, this is the aggregate demand. So I'm not writing this aggregate word. So this you can presuppose this the aggregate demand. We are talking about aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So this increase in demand may change the equilibrium condition, and if the sellers will increase, then it will increase the supply. So the supply will increase, and this will lower the prices. And if the demand increases, then price will also increase. So price will follow the demand. So in this manner, the number of buyers and sellers in the market is changing the equilibrium condition in the market. And the another factor is the prices of the inputs. Prices of the inputs used in the production. Prices of the inputs used in the production. Suppose for a transporter, the prices of petrol or diesel will increase. Diesel price, diesel price will increase. So it is having implication on the cost of the transportation of goods, and the transporter will be compelled to increase the prices of his services. So prices of diesel will increase the uh, transportation cost. Transportation cost. Or we can take example for the biscuit making companies. If the price of the raw material, that is the wheat or sugar, glucose, or any other aspects will increase, then it will increase the overall production cost of the goods, that is biscuit in our case. And the if the input cost of the biscuit is increasing, then the market cost will also increase. Fine. So these are the basic factors that affect the equilibrium of the market. And now we will move to our core topic of the discussion today, that is the equilibrium, how equilibrium is affected, or the market equilibrium is attained. So equilibrium. So we will take some assumptions before going to the equilibrium part. So assumptions. So as we have know that we know now that there are various factors which affect this equilibrium. So we will these all factors will affect this equilibrium in some or other way. We will consider the one particular factor as a variable, and the other factors we will consider as a constant. So we will suppose that these all factors which we have discussed here are constant and are not affecting the equilibrium, or are not varying to the varying in the market, and are not affecting the market equilibrium. So we will now go to the equilibrium. So we have supposed that these all assumptions, the taste and preferences are constant, and the prices of the related goods, prices of the related goods or services are constant, and the income is not changing, income is constant, and the technology used, technology technology say, if the demand, if the there is artificial intelligence, or some machines were invented which can produce the goods more efficiently in less time, and so that technology may lower the prices of the goods, the production price of the goods. So this also can affect. So we are considering the technology is also not changing, or if technology is changing, the producer is not adopting the new technology. So we are considering this also as constant. So the size of market, the size of market is constant, means the number of producers or number of the buyers are constant. So also the input prices, the input cost is also constant. So these are our assumptions before going for equilibrium. So now we will consider this this diagram for going to study the equilibrium. So under this condition, we will study how the changes in price level. So how the changes in the general price level of the goods or services in the market affects this equilibrium. Market affects this equilibrium. So in this diagram, as you can see, the this vertical line is showing the prices, and on the abscissa or horizontal line we are having quantity demanded or supplied. So, and these curves, this is the supply side curve, or this is demand curve represented by dd, and this is the equilibrium point uh, equilibrium point, and now we will consider how the change in price will affect this equilibrium. So suppose the initial price will be, this is initial condition, initial condition. So initially the price of the commodities in the market, or agreed price of the demand by the consumer and the supply by the supplier at price P star. So at this point, the price P star, the quantity demanded or supplied will be Q star. Fine. Now we will suppose the price will increase. First condition is, suppose price will increase. So price increase from, so price is increasing from P star to P2, P star to P2. So now in this case the price is increasing, and this increase in price is incentivizing the suppliers, and the suppliers will be having more incentive to increase the supply, and they will start producing more goods and services, and they will uh, supply more goods and services in the market. So at this increased price point, the we can see that supply is Q2, supply is Q2, and the demanded quantity will be, this Q2 naught. So this is demand and this is supply. Fine, at this price P2. So here there is a clear visible gap. So this is the gap between supplied quantity and the demanded quantity. As the supply will increase, the so here the market, invisible market forces will act. What are the market forces? The demand law and supply law. These will act. So now the oversupply will be, over supply will be Q2 dash Q2. So now as the supply is more, the suppliers will be facing a problem in selling these goods, and some of the suppliers will decrease their prices. Now as the supply is more than the demand, so the supply is greater than the demand. Now what will happen? This increased supply will dis, disincentivize the suppliers, and they will some of the producers will stop their production, and the supply will come down. So supply will come down, and as the supply will come down, the prices will also. So यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, यहाँ supply will come down, supply will come down, and this will lower the prices. So as the supply will come down, the prices will also decrease. Prices will also decrease. As the prices will decrease, the demand of the quantity will also increase. So this will increase the demand of the goods. Fine. So now the demand is increasing and the supply is decreasing, and both will meet at the point of equilibrium, and again the equilibrium will be achieved. So now these two curves will meet and approach towards the equilibrium price, and that is P star. So automatically the equilibrium will be achieved. So these will decrease up to P star price, and here the demand equals to supply. And we will consider the second situation. In second situation, uh, suppose the price is decreasing, price will decrease. So in this case, suppose the price will decrease from P star to P1. So in this case, what is happening? The price is decreasing. I will change the color so that it will be easy to understand in the diagram. So now if the price is decreasing, the what are the quantities supplied and demanded? We can see this price curve is cutting both the curves at point this and this. So at this point the supply is q1 naught. So what is the supply? Supply is q1 dash, and what is the demand? So as the prices are down, so as per our demand law, the demand will be high. So demand has increased from uh, q star to q1. So this is q1. So it is clearly visible that demand is way more than supply. So demand is q1 and supply is q1 dash. Okay, fine. So now we will understand how this increased supply. So there is clear gap, this much gap in the demand and supply. So the demand is higher, the and prices are lower. So as the prices are lower, the suppliers, what will happen? The suppliers will be disincentivized, and they were discouraged to produce the goods, and they will lower the supply, and hence this supply is lower to Q1 dash. And by the lowering of the price, this has incentivized the buyers, and they will demand more quantity to buy. So how the equilibrium will be achieved? Now as we can see, the supply has decreased. So this supply has decreased. So as the supply decrease, so this will shorten this gap, and as the supply, more suppliers will shut their production, or lowers their production. The quantity uh, oversupply will be get reduced, and in this case what will happen? The prices will increase. Prices will start increasing as the supply gets lower and lower, and by increasing this prices, the demand will also lower. So there are two impacts by decreasing in supply. First is the producer. By decrease in supply, the prices are increased, and due to price increase, there are two effects. First is the producer will get incentivized, and they will start production again, and the producer, the supply will increase. Supply will increase, and second will be second effect will be on the consumer. So here consumer, the as the price will increase, the consumer will be disincentivized, and they will lower their demand, because some of the consumers will not be able to afford this increase in the price, and the demand will lower. Demand gets lower, and now as the demand is coming this side, and the supply is coming this side, this is supply coming this way, and demand is coming this way. So now both will meet at somewhere, and this point will be P star, and they will meet here, and this point is this quantity is Q star, and at Q star the price is P star, and again the equilibrium will be achieved. So again the equilibrium will be achieved. The equilibrium will be achieved. Fine. At Q star and P star. So now we have explained, or we have understood how the general prices in the market, or the changes in the price level in the market affects the market equilibrium. And now we will understand the another concept uh, by changing the demand curve. Second is by changing the demand, by changing the demand. So by changing the demand, what do you mean? So we mean that this we are shifting this demand curve either to the right side or to the left side. Now we will understood this. this is price, this is quantity, and this is demand curve, and this is supply curve. So this is SS0, this is DD0. Uh, 0 or not, we have appended because we are considering these are initial conditions. Okay, so if we consider this is Q naught and this is P naught. So now suppose we are shifting this curve from, we are increasing, first case will be increasing demand, increasing the demand, the aggregate demand in the market, in the market. So if the demand is increasing, so demand क्या कर रही है, increase कर रही है. So where will this curve dt naught will shift? It will shift to the right side. We will shift this curve to the right side. Fine. So we have shifted this curve to the right side this way. So now we can see that at price P naught, initially the quantity demanded is Q naught, and now the new demanded quantity is, so what is the new demanded quantity? It is Q1. Fine. We are considering condition 1. So the increase demand is denoted by Q1. And now we can see that the supply curve is same, and it has not moved. The supply is constant. So we are considering this supply as constant. Supply as constant. Constant supply. Now what will happen? In this case, as the supply, what is the supply? Supply will be Q naught, and what will be the demand? The new demand will be Q1. So here the what is here? The demand is more. Demand is greater than supply. So as we can see, the demand is greater than supply. So there is clear gap. What is the gap? We can see this is the gap between demand and supply. So demand is more, supply is less. So what will happen? Due to increased demand, due to increased demand, there will be shortage in the market of the goods supplied, and this will increase the prices of the goods. So the demand law will apply here, and this will increase the prices. Prices will increase. Fine. So प्राइस क्या करेंगे, यहाँ पे इंक्रीज कर जाएंगे, और इससे क्या होगा, यहाँ पे सप्लाई तो इंक्रीज कर नहीं रही है, सो द प्राइस विल इंक्रीज. फाइन. Now as the price will increase, what will happen? Price is increasing. There are two impacts. So it is having two impacts. One on consumer. So what will happen with consumers as the prices will increase due to the more demand? The some of the consumers, when the how the prices will increase, first we will understand this, how the prices will increase by greater demand, because some of the consumers who are well versed with the in the economic condition, they will offer more prices for these goods or commodities in the market, and this will increase the price. And now if the price is increased, then it will be having impact on consumers and the suppliers. How the consumers, how it will affect the consumers? Now as the price is increasing, the some of the consumers which are at the bottom strata of the economic scale, they will lower their demand, because they are not able to afford these this increased price. in the uh, goods and services, and uh, in this way the demand lowers. What will happen? Demand will brought down. एंड तो यहाँ से क्या हो रहा है, यहाँ पे हमने ये देखा कि जो डिमांड है, दिस इज डिमांड कर्व, तो डिमांड क्या होगी यहाँ पे, लोअर होगी, डिमांड इस तरफ चलेगी, डिमांड will start decrease. And what will happen with the suppliers? So we have supposed this supply is constant, so supply we have supposed it is constant, so there is no change in supply. And as the prices will increase, that and the demand will decrease, and new equilibrium will be achieved at somewhere here, and this quantity will be uh, Q2. Fine. So a new equilibrium, this is P2, at this is equilibrium E2. Fine. So now we have understood the impact of the change in demand curve to the right side, and this has changed the equilibrium. So we can see clearly that where this E2 point or equilibrium is, this is DD1 curve. Fine. So this is the point where the new demand curve and the old supply curve cross each other, and this is achieved at the new price level. This price level is the higher price level. So P2 is greater than P0, and at this level we will be having new equilibrium point E2, where the quantity is, supplied, or so the quantity is Q2.